Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a phenomenon in the dark zone that is kind of frustrating for a lot of people in some senses and also really wonderful and beautiful in a few different scenarios. So that concept is multi-grouping. All right, now there's a wide range of situations where multi-grouping is either good or bad. And I'm going to review all of them, and after I'm going to present my kind of scenario or fix for that, that if implemented, not only could it fix the bad forms of multi-grouping, I also think it has the possibility to fix griefing in general. And I don't know, I've been thinking a lot more about this since a few live streams ago where it popped into my head. And I think it's a really, plausible thing that Massive could do very easily that would help a lot with their game. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the bad forms of multi-grouping, okay? There aren't as many of these. There's actually more positive forms of it than there are negatives. But the worst form of it that I know of is when people group up two groups of four or more, or even, a group of six, a group of four, and then a group of two, and they work together to stand directly outside a checkpoint and just kill every single thing that comes out of it. All right, they work together to multi-group in a PvP sense and crush people that maybe otherwise they wouldn't have been able to kill. Maybe in 4v4s they're constantly losing. I don't know. Maybe they want that satisfaction of getting their PvP but not actually worrying about dying. Maybe they're really worried about their funds or their DZ rank or things like that. But they group up with more than the standard four players to then, get an advantage over other players, and then it's even harder for solos or randoms to coordinate and kill them, and it becomes really difficult. That's the bad form. That's the worst form that I can think of. Directly camping a checkpoint as a group of 8 or something like that. One of the other really bad forms that I don't personally like, but there's not really anything I can do about it, is stream sniping. We encounter that a lot now, where groups will understand that we are streamers or YouTubers, and they will then group up with other groups, and it'll end up like 8 or more players are just waiting for us to do something or just killing us repeatedly because they want the screen time, they want the airtime, and they want people to see that they can kill us even though they have this drastic advantage of we're outnumbered 2-1, things like that. But I'm not going to harp on that one too much because that's on us to adapt our tactics and get better. Those are the negative kinds that I can think of, but then now to address some of the positives, and these would remain unaffected by the change that I'm suggesting that they implement. The good kind of multi-grouping and the really cooperative and nice form of it is when people can't farm a specific area, like let's say DZ5 and 6, maybe their squad isn't geared up enough or coordinated enough, and they end up cooperating with another squad in the area to clear those landmarks. That's the good form of multi-grouping. That's cooperation in the DZ. I think that's one of the hidden, sides of the DZ that is really amazing, that doesn't come to light very often, but is actually pretty cool when you do end up cooperating with another squad and completing content that you wouldn't have been able to complete prior to that with just a 4-man squad. So that's amazing, and that wouldn't be changed by any sort of fix that I'm going to suggest later on. Another form of it is grouping up to kill, I guess, manhunt rogues or people that are camping a checkpoint, or a group that's holed up in a single location and making a fight of it, because there is a reward there. So if you have, to stick with the lore of the Division, you have agents killing other agents, which is extremely frowned upon. That's something that the Division itself is not about. They don't want that. So a group of agents coming out, maybe some of them were solo, some of them were grouped up in groups of 2 or 3, grouping up with other groups in order to take down those manhunts. They do get a reward for that. They get some credits, some keys, some funds, all that different stuff. That's a viable form as well. That's not something I'm really against. I think that that's okay, as long as it doesn't rapidly transition into one of the bad forms of multi-grouping, where then, for instance, if they were upset that they were rogue in the first place, they'll end up camping the checkpoint for that group specifically, and all they're really doing is replacing what they hated about the game and becoming what they despise. So that's a fine line, but sometimes that doesn't happen, sometimes it does, but that's beside the point. It does, offer a lot of value to the Dark Zone, as well as a lot of detriment, the concept of multi-grouping. So now, my scenario that I'm going to propose to Massive is something that I feel like may fix that, and not only that, but maybe griefing in general. And it's a tried and true method, proven in a lot of MMOs to help. Now, in a lot of different things that you're going to play online where there's PvP, open world PvP, in spawn zones, you actually have Guardian-style NPCs. You have an NPC that's going to protect, the spawn circle, or the different villages, or the newbie zones, all these different things. And it works quite well. These are one-shot or nearly one-shot style NPCs that are just super powerful, and they only exist for the purpose of preventing higher-level players from killing lower-level players. And I propose that Massive just very quickly implements a JTF sniper with like a super high-powered anti-personnel sniper rifle, and they put that on top of every single checkpoint or spawn point. Maybe not the safe houses, because those are designed to be a little bit more dangerous, but every checkpoint where you enter the DZ. Now what this would do is it would prevent, even in the situation that's on screen right now, how close we are to a checkpoint. It would prevent us from doing this, because if we were to round the corner and and what we have here is good PvP, and we're engaged in PvP, and maybe we're a little too close to the checkpoint, but we're having fun. It would prevent us from actually going right up to the checkpoint doors. We would have to stay out of the line of sight of the checkpoint. That would give other players, that come into the dark zone a buffer period where they don't just walk in the door and get killed by multi-grouping griefers or things like that. They would have this safe area where they could coordinate, group up, invite each other to groups, because inside the checkpoint, by proximity, you can't actually invite people to groups because you're in your own instance. You have to then leave the checkpoint, and if you're having to leave the checkpoint into an area that's like taken over by rogues, then it's hard to actually scroll through and invite other players by proximity. This would give them a buffer zone where they could leave the checkpoint, stay really tightly close to that JTF sniper, knowing that he would give them cover fire, and then group up and talk and coordinate before they actually engage the rogues. I think that would help quite a bit. Now, another thing is you don't have to make it one shot. That might be a little bit frustrating for players, and especially when it comes to NPCs, you don't want a situation where people can lead the NPCs into those snipers and then get instant kills on all of them. I would propose a situation where if people are really against the one-shot sniper mechanic, make it that it'll take about half of your health bar. Not that it does a static amount of damage, but the sniper will actually take half of the player's health bar with every shot and have a pretty rapid rate of fire. So what that would mean is it would help deal with the manhunts or the rogues or things like that and griefers, and maybe it wouldn't one-shot all of them, but it would give the players at the checkpoint a decidedly large advantage over them, and it would make it a lot easier to kill them. A truly talented squad would still be able to kind of camp there and get some really live action PvP, but it would be extremely difficult, and it would happen so much less than it does right now. That's something that I think would add a lot of value to the game. Having this buffer zone, having an area where players could group up outside the checkpoint, coordinate, switch their skills, switch their guns, load up on ammo, things like that, without having to be instanced to their own zone inside the checkpoint and then not knowing, leaving that door and then being flashbanged before you've even loaded in. Things like that would no longer be the case. And I think that's really good, and it's a tried and true proven method in a lot of MMORPGs. And I would like to ask Massive just to genuinely consider that. I think it's something that might add a lot of value. Then again, maybe it's not possible to implement. Maybe you guys couldn't do it. Maybe it's just something that, in terms of coding is not a reality. And in that case, oh well, it was just an idea. And, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. But I think it definitely has a lot of merit. Just to talk about multi-grouping one last time, I think there are some really, really good benefits to it. If you're farming landmarks and things like that, cooperation in the Dark Zone is few and far between. And when you do find that, I don't want to discourage that in any way, shape, or form. But the griefing multi-grouping, the people that are grouping up, 8 or more players just to kill a certain squad over and over, regardless of what that reason is, whether it's they're just upset at them, whether it's they're not very good at the game themselves and they just want to feel better about themselves, whether it's they just want screen time on a stream or something like that. That is the kind of multi-grouping that needs to be discouraged, that we don't condone, and that I don't think anyone should. But I don't think it will ever go away, and I think the sniper on the checkpoints is just a really great way to stop it from negatively impacting solo players that come out of the checkpoint without knowing what's going on. You would know that every time you left the checkpoint, you wouldn't be in danger directly as soon as you stepped out the door. You would know that you could scout the area. You could slowly creep out. You could go cover to cover. You could see if there's rogues camping a little bit away. You could find out whether or not it's safe, and then if it wasn't, you could just go back to that checkpoint, fast travel to a different one, or just hover in there, try and draw them in, try and get help from that sniper. It would create some really dynamic tactical fights around the radius of that sniper. And another thing is that some people may say, okay, well, everyone's just going to use an M1A and spawn camp anyways. I think that that's possible. I mean, maybe that would be an issue, but you could make the range on the sniper quite large. And the easy thing is that distance combat as of right now is not very well rewarded. If you drop a player from distance, you're oftentimes not going to be able to fully kill them. You can't run in for the rifle butt, and you have to land quite a few shots to actually tick through their bleed timer and fully kill them. So that would be something that shouldn't be too big of an issue. You could just get revived quite easily, and they would have to be very coordinated snipers to actually get kills. So that wouldn't be as much of an issue in my mind. That's going to be about it. Just my genuine discussion of multi-grouping, of the goods, the bads, and my scenario that might actually help deal with not only that, but griefing in general. And I think it's just information that I wanted to put out there to the community and get feedback on. So if you guys have any comments or, you know, disagreements or things to add to that, please comment in the, you know, down below the description, because not only do I want people to get some information and, you know, critical thought from the videos, I definitely want people to be answering each other's comments and to just contribute to the discussion overall. So please do that if you have the time. That would be fantastic. As always, guys, if you want to support the channel, if you want to support the growth that we're undertaking, please check out the links below. We have a lot of social media stuff going on. There's a lot of ways to support the channel in general, and it would mean a lot if you would do that. And as always, guys, have a nice day.